Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I wanted to do a reaction video to the creator Leanna Deeb as a stay-at-home MD. So I'm a licensed physician, but I do stay at home with my kids. I don't currently work. I don't necessarily have plans in the near future to work. My focus right now is the home, and I've kind of struggled with this question about what do I do with my life? How do we find that balance? What is work-life balance? Do I work? Do I, stay at home and raise my kids? And what about all these what if questions that everybody says? And shouldn't women have something for themselves? And all these questions I've definitely struggled with. And so, I hoped, maybe a little bit in this video, and hopefully also in future videos, to start addressing some of these questions that I think are very, very prudent. She has a 40-minute video here, and I'm just going to react to a few clips that I thought were interesting and relevant to some things in my own life. I do want to preface this to say that, I have respect for her. Excuse my awkwardness in the beginning. I'm still learning this YouTube stuff. So hopefully I fix my lighting a little bit here, and we will get started on reacting to this video. Bismillah.
Both of my sisters are married and they both have kids. And I am the only one who is not married and who doesn't have kids. And so there is kind of this pressure put onto you. And I feel like women, whether that is I think it's more of a societal thing. It's just this kind of expectation that you kind of have to get married young and have children from a younger age, like 20s, like early 20s. Otherwise, you're kind of losing time. Anyways, being there.
I just want to note, I think most of us, excuse me, I think most of us understand that it's not just a societal, it comes out of nowhere. Why is it a societal thing? Society is not stupid, so to speak. It's for a reason, right? Naturally, women, you do have a biological clock. It does exist. It is real. And just medically speaking, you are considered, what's the word I'm looking for? Let me see here real quick. Term for pregnancy over 35. Advanced maternal age. So medically speaking, just from a medical perspective, you at 35 are considered advanced maternal age. And why is that? It's not, it's just not, medicine is the last thing that necessarily cares to put stigma on people. It's because it comes with more complications. It comes with more risk for miscarriage. It comes for, harder, it becomes harder to get pregnant at those ages. Your ovarian reserve tends to go down, so many things. So it's not, I just want to note that there is a reason, there's a biological reason for this societal notion. Because you can't just get rid of an idea because you said, societal notion, if that makes any sense. Listen, I'm going to learn to articulate myself better, hopefully with more and more videos on this YouTube channel. So here we go.
Mothers don't get the same recognition when it comes to, cooking and cleaning around the house. It is a full-time job. I don't see myself doing that because honestly, I'm not scarred for life, but seeing a woman go through so much and then not having the help of her husband, even pick up a dish. Now I see.
Okay, let's let her finish this.
Doing more dishes and stuff.
But now I see my dad go doing more dishes. I actually told my husband about this part. Because it's such a obviously it's such a woman's biased perspective. What does that mean? What about your dad who provided for your family? You don't even see the hardship that he goes through. I know what my husband goes through to some extent because I was working and I was doing that. I lived that life for a little bit and I hated it, right? Compared to being at home, I am happy. You have no idea how excited and happy I am. I almost feel like I'm doing nothing when I pick up my husband's dishes and I clean up after him. I'm embarrassed, genuinely. When that's all I can do for him is these simple things at home when I know what he's doing and all the hard work that he's put into it and how hard he works to provide for us and to provide for his family. So it's just so, I don't know, heartbreaking to see this and to hear this. It's where you've kind of have a one-sided perspective that's so biased by all the feminist nonsense, quite frankly, that society has been spewing down our necks or whatever, right? Like that society has just been like bombarding us with. Um, to say, I can't even believe it. Like, because just knowing my experiences, like what my husband does is about 100 times more difficult and harder. I'm not saying that what I do, I mean, I homeschool my kids. I'm trying to make sure, like, obviously, like I make my husband all his meals. I prep his meals. I do all the dishes. I do everything cleaning up. He does help a little bit around the house. Like he helps take out the trash. Uh, but like I don't want to. I'm genuinely embarrassed when I see him do something around the house and help me with things around the house. As much as I appreciate it, and there are times when I'm just like tired, and it's great that he does that. Like if I see him put a plate of food for himself, I feel embarrassed, right? Because he works so hard, and it's a very small thing for me to do to make sure he has his food ready when he comes home, or like whenever he wants to eat his meals. It's like I'm so happy. You can't I'm like rushing to go grab his dishes just to feel like I'm doing something for him, knowing how hard he works for us. Again, I've been on both sides of the equation. I know what it's like to go in, day out. He Like there is no break for him. Some days I sleep in because, I didn't sleep well, the kids, blah, blah, blah. I'm feeling sick, blah, blah, whatever. He has no choice. He's up. And I remember how that feels. Like, oh my gosh, like at 6 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter how I'm feeling. It doesn't matter how many hours I slept. It doesn't matter. You are up in the morning and you are going to work, and you're responsible for this and responsible for that. It was just like, it was a miserable grind. Right. And just to know the luxuries that I have, again, I think that's just from my experience on being both sides. Like I am so happy to do the work around the house. It is the least that I can do to me to kind of I wouldn't even say earn or like be worthy of like the lifestyle and the life that my husband provides for me and for our kids. But like what's wrong with that, at the same time, what's wrong with that? I'm in a stage in my life where I'm really trying to work against these nonsense non-Islamic notions that society has kind of like forced into us, about like how I should feel. Like, no, you need to feel, be a little bit, stroke your ego a little bit more. Like you should feel this, you should feel that. Says who necessarily? If it's not an Islamic concept, so what? You humble yourself. So what? You say, I'm gonna, burden myself a little bit for the sake of my spouse. Can you imagine, in the eyes of Allah, like who is more valuable? The person who's like, no, you know what? Like I'm really taking care of myself, and I'm not going to pick up this dish because it just doesn't align with my authenticity, whatever. Or the woman who says, you know what, like it's really hard. I've had a really hard day, but I know how hard my husband works. I'm going to go, and I'm going to go pick up his dish and still do the dishes. And it's like, if you have a kind and a caring husband, like he's going to notice. He's going to notice you had a hard day. He's going to come home and he's going to help you out. My husband does. He tries to help. He tries to do his dishes. He tries to clean up his stuff. He really does. But genuinely, like, I almost feel like I need to rush to do that because I need to do something. I don't want to be a freeloader. Alhamdulillah, like just the extent that he goes and to provide for our family, and like everything that he has to go through, and like, I hear the garage like open every day, and he has to go to work and in the mornings, and a lot of times he doesn't even see us because he's up so early. I just can't even imagine her. How could you say that? And I don't know. Again, like I don't know her mom and her dad and what was they were working, but I mean, she just mentioned that they were like a traditional household. Like, what a simple thing to do to pick up your husband's dish. And imagine, in the eyes of Allah too. Is it better that you pick up your husband's dish at home, or you go work for somebody who doesn't care about you? I mean, you could literally die or disappear, and they'll just replace you easily without even second thought. They don't care. There was like a story of like this woman who died in her cubicle, and they didn't even notice until days later. I mean, this was like an older woman or something, but like you know what I mean? Like, to be beholden. And again, I'm telling you this as someone who has been on both sides of the equation. It makes a gazillion times more sense to be beholden to my husband. Yes, a man. Yes, the patriarchy, my husband, and for me to be under his like obedience and his orders at home. Somebody that I know that ultimately loves us and cares for us, and like all the hard work he does for his family, versus having that same, you're still beholden to people at work. When I was working at the hospital, these random people that I didn't like, I didn't relate to, I didn't share values with necessarily. And again, I don't say didn't like, yes, there were nice people and good people, but like at the end of the day, I don't talk to any of them anymore. I left, and I don't like, why would I? Right. Because it was just like that work relationship. So just think about it for yourself. Right. And like this, I have so much to say on this, and inshallah, like we'll talk about it more in future videos. Like I'm getting very like impassionate about it, because it's like, I've lived it. I've lived both sides. And like, how can you tell me it makes to pick up a dish after your husband that does so much for you is nothing? And she's talking about being traumatized by this. Mind blown, insanity to me. But that is like, and this is like, again, nothing about her personally, like to her personally at all. I just want to make that clear. This is just like accountability for some of the things, like the general rhetoric that is out there. So this is where we need to be careful as Muslim women. We need to be careful about how we are receiving the liberal secular, how we are receiving the liberal secular rhetoric from society, the feminist rhetoric from society, and how much we are identifying with that, because it is a problem. It is. And I hope to elucidate that even more throughout like more videos on my channel, inshallah. This is hopefully just the beginning, because I have so much to say about this. And like my journey has been very like mind opening for me. So, I hope to kind of share that for the women that are maybe on the fence a little bit, the way that I was, or questioning things a little bit more like I was. This is really, truly who I make these videos for, inshallah ta'ala. So much to say, so much to say, so much to unpack here. Wow.
Growing up, and I love my parents so much, but like growing up, I never saw that. And that is very common in my culture, Hispanic culture, Arab culture.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Expectation of women need to be this, and some women want that, but personally, I don't, because I want my own power. Sometimes men
Women's empowerment.
If you don't have money, if you don't have anything else going for you, then taking care of the kids and cooking. And again, it's sometimes like 50-50 chance in terms of like having the partner who is a provider, a male, and he empowers a woman and wants more for herself. And then there's a 50-50 chance of being with someone who can end up emotionally manipulating you with like money, of like, if you want to buy something but you don't have it, but you're relying on a man, what if you can't get the thing? It's like, what do you do then? You don't.
So, I mean, like, I don't want to downplay the notion that like, are there men that will take advantage of it and will abuse a woman? For sure, and like, alhamdulillah, that hasn't been my situation, unless my husband drastically changes one day, just wakes up and is a completely different person. But like, do you put yourself kind of in a vulnerability in that position? Yeah. And is that something that like I can tell all women to do just unequivocally 100%? It's going to work out just fine. I can't. I'm being honest about it. I'm just talking about obviously like the standard situation where you're marrying like at least a half decent human being. If you marry someone who is abusive, like that's very real and very serious. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about here, like picking up a dish for an abusive husband. But I don't think that's what she's talking about, because she's talking about being traumatized. She didn't, talk too much about it, but I don't think her dad was necessarily abusive. But here's the issue now, where being concerned about abuse is obviously extremely legitimate and very real. We need to be careful as Muslim women to what degree we kind of extrapolate that concern to my power. So now she talked about kind of it gave the notion of abuse. Maybe she wasn't really talking about abuse, like physical and like emotional, and like this is a very bad, serious situation that you're in, versus now we're kind of in the fluff of like, can I buy something that I want to buy? If I can't buy something that I want to buy, is that abuse from your husband? It's not. Let's just be honest. That's not abuse. And so as Muslim women, we need to really be careful about what lines we cross and how we're defining things and how we're talking about things. As a Muslim woman, if my husband, for whatever reason, he doesn't even, but like, he's not like that. He doesn't tell me like there's something I can buy or can't buy necessarily. But me as you, as a woman, I feel like I ask him, I want to make sure that what I get is okay. And actually not just okay, but he's happy with it, with what I buy. Like, I'm not the kind of person to buy a lot of stuff for myself. I mostly like to buy things for my kids, but like, even, buying things for my kids, or, if there is something that I get for myself, like, I want to know that he's okay with it. Like, it's not like I'm empowered. I can go buy and do whatever I want. What kind of marriage is that? What kind of relationship is that? As a woman, there has to be that aspect of like submission, that aspect of like wanting that from like your relationship with your husband. And then they kind of, this is where I think we need to delve into a little bit more, maybe in future videos, the notion of like female empowerment, because that's what feminism is, like this empowerment. I'm empowered as a woman. I can make my own decisions. I don't need to listen to the patriarchy. I don't need to listen to a man. Versus traditional Islam. What does traditional Islam teach us? We do listen. Obedience to your husband is extremely important. And you should not just obey your husband, you should ideally, as a Muslimah, want that. You should want that relationship with your husband. You love him, you trust him, he's taking care of things for you, and you want to have the pleasure of your husband when it comes to, something like buying things. Why would you want to buy something that your husband doesn't want you to buy? I wish he would give an example, because I can't think of it. Like, I'm going to go buy a house that he doesn't want me to buy. Like, okay, obviously, like, yeah, you want to be empowered enough, like, that you can go buy. I'm really trying to think. Maybe a car. Maybe that's what she means. Like, there's a car that you want to buy and you really want to buy it and you're able to buy it for yourself is one thing. So let's say you're married. Let's give her a thought experiment, or someone in her shoes. Let's say there's a car, you're married, you're empowered. I'm a doctor. I've been working. I have so much money. There's a car that I want to buy. My husband is, maybe in that empowered situation. He's not going to flat out say no, or, not want to buy it, but he will, because he's like small now. He's like this, like equal. He's my equal now. Man, I have to say this stuff with a straight face. Okay. So, he's kind of like, he's expressing to me that, maybe it's not the best decision. So as an empowered woman, I'm going to say, forget about you. I'm going to go ahead and buy it anyways. Like, that's like the kind of relationship in the marriage that you want. Am I understanding correctly here? Versus, so that apparently is a better situation than if you are not working, you don't have the money, there's a car that you want, you ask your husband maybe, or you hint to him that you want this car. And he says, in so many words, or maybe flat out, no, like, I'm not going to buy that car. Oh, and then you kind of feel sad and you feel hurt a little bit, and you kind of daydream in your head. If I was still working, I could go buy myself that car against his wishes. Like, really? Like, I'm just trying to be like, give me a real example, because that doesn't make sense. Like, who would go do that? Or what kind of marriage is that? Like, how does that make any sense? Ultimately, he is in charge of the decisions, whether I have the money or I don't have the money. So even if I do have the money, actually, you're putting yourself in a bigger test, like, in my opinion, in the eyes of Allah, because you still have to obey your husband. So you have the money and you feel more empowered, like, I can go do whatever I want. And your husband is kind of telling you, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this, but you're going to go ahead and do it anyways. Is that really what you want in the eyes of Allah ultimately? Big questions. And I have a lot to say, and also a lot of questions myself. I'm trying to learn this stuff, but really we need to be able to dissect this stuff. We need to be able to look at this stuff and look at it critically, and look at it as Muslimin, not as feminist Muslims, not as people that are falling for kind of the liberal secular society, which happens to be the air that we breathe this day and age. But we can actually wade through that and stick to our traditional Islamic values, and what Islam teaches us. And that's fine, because like, people are obviously going to disagree. And part of what I want to discover on this channel, through this channel, is what really does Islam tell us? What does Islam say about these things? But I think some things are pretty clear, like obeying your husband. You can try to spin it because you don't like it, but I think it's pretty clear Islamically that obeying your husband is a responsibility and a duty of the wife.
Don't have anything else going for you. So like that is my fear, and maybe that's a bit of trauma that I need to work with. And I'm speaking to this mic like it's therapy, like a therapy session for real, because honestly
That's funny.
that is trauma that I feel whenever I get into conversations and try to talk to people. Is like, I'm gonna have my own thing, you can't hold me back. Like I feel so masculine going into this, but maybe it's because I also haven't found a masculine man who can make me feel like in my feminine. And I truly believe.
Okay, first of all, I don't think it's the man's responsibility to make you feel in your feminine. I used to kind of think along those lines, but then I learned that I feel like just through life experience that it's your responsibility. It's for you to kind of take on that role. Like how can you that's where you're giving somebody else the power and the responsibility for your own feelings and your own like intuitions. Like it just doesn't make sense. But that kind of point aside and a little bit of the joking aside, um she's saying here that she's a bit traumatized and she has a fear. I think it can be natural, but I think it's a feminist ingrained fear. I genuinely believe that. I never really had that fear. I don't know why. Um, maybe kind of a little bit, you could say reckless. I don't know, a bit naive, whatever you want to call it. Like I wanted to get married young. I didn't necessarily care to go into medicine. I just did because that's what I had at the time. And that's the advice that people gave me. And that made sense, right? This is what you have. This is what you don't have. Just go with what you have right now. And then I met my husband my first year of med school, and that was kind of its own story. And anyhow, so she's talking about this fear, right? And this is like huge, 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 huge feminist ingrained. Just keep in mind, this is a feminist ingrained fear. What about the other side? What about the other side? Feminism will tell you if your man is abusive, if this and this and this. What about if your work makes you feel miserable? What about if your work is, you're burning out massively from working? What if it puts you in danger, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever? Which it does. Imagine, like, as a woman, you're going out of the house and you have to go work, for example, late at night. I had night shifts that I had to go do. Does that physically put me in danger in some ways? Yes, it does. Do people talk about that? Does the feminist narrative get people to talk about the other side at all, or even acknowledge its existence? Like, oh, all the fear is over here. No, they just want you to hone in, focus on your one-sided, somewhat somewhat rational, somewhat irrational fears. I think for the standard person to have that level of laser focus on that side, on those particular fears, is irrational. Definitely, I don't want to downplay like the reality that there is abuse and there are issues, like for sure, huge. But like, is that rational enough to just focus on that and just focus on this one side versus actually being a little bit more balanced and say, you know what, maybe there's even more to be afraid of on the other side of things than just the man. You have to realize that as a woman. This is part of the veil being lifted off my eyes, and like the people that, alhamdulillah, I was exposed to that kind of helped me realize this. You have been trained and you have been cultured and brainwashed in many ways to focus and hone in on that one side. Just, oh my God, men, evil, need to protect myself. Okay, clearly I'm protecting myself, right? By going to these liberal universities where you're going to go potentially lose aspects of your deen. Going and being in a mixed environment, for example, which can be unsafe and can lead to unsafe things. Look at how many things of sexual harassment and things of that nature that happen at work, being in inappropriate situations. I was in inappropriate situations just with like the little bit that I did through med school and residency. Like, so how is that not real danger? How is that not a real fear or issue? Why do people at the very least show that you're not biased by talking about those fears as well? Enumerate them at the very least. Talk about their existence and acknowledge that they're real. So I just, again, like, these are like little things that the feminist mind, and it's not, again, like, I really just want to be clear, I'm not like harping on her personally. This has nothing to do with her personally. She is just, unfortunately, right now, a good example of somebody who has kind of taken in the feminist narrative without being overly critical about what it is and the impact that it has on you, on your life, and really what, like, the impact that it has on you and your life and how you live your life. And it's, oh my God, like, if I could just pick like the one thing that has been like the biggest issue in my life, it is this. This is why I'm making this channel, why I'm dedicating my time to this channel, because I think it's so important. This is like the number one issue that has been like on my mind and has, I mean, it's literally like how I live my life. It's my whole life. This issue is.
Believe that is why I'm not ready for it, is because I also need to unpack all of this. Like, I need to let go of all these things before
Yes, you do.
person comes into my life. And now I'm in this lonely chapter. Since we are on the topic of
We're going to skip this.
understand you, family won't. And again, like, fear mongering, like, you're running out of time. You're not running out of time. Like, me and my videographer were just having a conversation. Like, our mothers had us at such a later age, 38, 36. And that's not even, I don't even think that's too old. Obviously, it's different with women's bodies because we start to lose eggs and we go into like menopause and stuff, which is, different. But I don't ever fear that I won't have kids, because I do want kids. But if I didn't ever have kids, I always think about like, if I have kids, or like if I don't have kids and it wasn't written for me, maybe it's because if I had children, I wouldn't have patience and I wouldn't have treat.
Okay, I'm back. So, here she's giving, my issue with what she's saying is not so much like, if this was like on an individual perspective, like level, like she was going through this or somebody's going through this situation. Yes, absolutely. Like, trusting and accepting and rationalizing, like, why is this happening, makes sense. But to dish this out when you have like such a large audience, as if it's like general advice, like, you should wait, you should focus on your career, you should focus on being overly ready for marriage before you get married, even if you're like of appropriate age and generally things seem okay. Um, I think it's horrible advice. I think it's unfortunately just very rooted in that kind of like the feminist concepts that we've been, again, like, brainwashed with. So again, kind of like, if it's something that you're going through, like, you've tried to get married, you can't get married, or you're married, you can't have kids, like, absolutely, like, may Allah be with you and may Allah grant you patience, for sure. But like, to rationalize your decision, your active decision to delay getting married, to delay having kids, to actively pursue your career by using that, makes no sense, and it's absolutely bad advice.
Treated the kids well or something. Does that make sense? For example, I struggle with patience, and I know that like when I hear kids cry, I empathize, but it's like mothers to go through what they
Like,
go through with kids.
like, she's already rationalizing what she sees as the natural consequence for delaying getting married and delaying having kids. Like, she's already trying to rationalize that for herself. Like, she clearly has convinced herself, well, if I can't have kids, it's not because I waited, it's not because this, it's not because that, it's because I wouldn't have been patient if I had children. Which, like, it makes no sense. Again, if you're in that situation and that is the situation that you're dealing with, it just happens to be, and you're already in it, whatever. Okay, I'm not here to comment on that. But if you are actively creating the situation and then, like, you're I don't even know, like, going back in time, and then you're, going back to rationalize it for yourself. Like, this whole thing sounds so confused, and it's just horrible advice in general for women to be like listening to this and taking this in. I feel sorry for the women audience that are like here to like hear something from somebody and taking that advice. She's not talking about her personal story. She's talking about her hypothetical self that delayed getting married and delayed having kids and is now rationalizing it. This is just like, it's just an awkward mess. Okay, again, I don't want to be mean, so that's not my intention. But just like, there has to be some level of like accountability. Just think about what you're saying. Just think about the advice, because this is a societal issue that is happening. It is real. And the poor women that you are kind of steering in this direction that are going to be so sad when they are alone at age 40 because they've expired at that age and no man necessarily is going to marry them and they can't have kids or, whatever. Again, like I'm getting a little too worked up. Maybe I should pause this. Sorry. It's just, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch and to know that poor women. And I say that as like, I can see myself listening to somebody like her, getting this advice and feeling like, oh, well, this is a genuine person. Like, this is genuine, real. This is so real. Like, yeah, absolutely. Women and empowerment. Let me just chase my job and my career. To what extent? To what end? So I can rationalize later that I didn't have kids because I wasn't going to be patient with them.
Blick with toddlers screaming and like, you can't control it. You can't do anything.
Okay.
I don't even know how I would be in them. Obviously, I wouldn't do anything bad, but it's like, wow, the patience and the tolerance that you have to have is that it's like, I'm not ready for that. And I think that's why
I'm not ready for that. You grow, you learn, you work on yourself. I'm not a good mom. I'm not a perfect mom. Sometimes my kids straight up tell me sometimes that you're not a good mom. That literally, they'll tell me that. And you know what? I take that and I reflect on it and I keep trying and I keep trying and I keep trying. I try to be better. Am I the most patient mother? No. It's not perfect. You're not supposed to be perfect. Part of it is like, it's a growing process, but it helped me grow and learn and challenge myself in incredible ways. Yes. You're not supposed to just be like perfect. And like, that's the only time I can have kids, when I know that I'm going to be perfect and I'm going to react to everything perfectly. And I'm never going to yell and I'm never going to be upset at my children. Like, is that what you're waiting for? Is that the kind of advice now that we're getting and giving? All right. Clearly I'm getting a little bit impatient. I don't know why. Okay. I'm getting worked up. I should just, just take it easy a little bit.
I haven't been in a relationship in so long, and I haven't really even shared that I've been in relationships on here because I always like, I don't know, but like now being fully covered up and not getting the same amount of attention from men, it can be hard. It can be also hard even feeling beautiful in the hijab or like finding a partner, because again, men are creatures of more physical. In women, we can lean into the more emotional side. Like sometimes when a man is not that attractive, but he has a good personality, we can be like, he's, it's fine because he has a great personality. He's funny, he's kind, he's loving. But when a man is looking for a woman, he has to be physically attracted to her, like from the beginning, because otherwise, I don't know. It doesn't usually, like, I mean, in my cases, I just always feel like a man is a physical creature more than a woman. They're both emotional creatures, but like more physical for men. I truly believe that. So,
I mean, it's true. I mean, I don't think she's saying something that's like so novel or like a new discovery. Like, yeah, men are definitely more physical. She's talking about her modesty. Like, imagine women that wear the niqab. I don't even know genuinely like how they get married and stuff. And I've thought about wearing the niqab, I'm not gonna lie, especially for this like YouTube channel. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do like a pull a Liana and like start wearing the niqab and then like delete all this content where I didn't have the niqab. So yeah, I hear she's just talking about getting attention, but this is where like it's a little bit like, are you, again, like, are you a little bit confused because you're talking about women empowerment and then you want to be, you want the gaze of men, not even like you want the attention, like the wrong kind of attention of men. Like this is where I go to the gym and I see like these women that are just like they're like like they're trying so hard to dress for like the people at the gym, like the men at the gym, to get attention, like their shirts, their crop tops and their super tight pants. And I'm like, they're just trying to get a workout in. And like, why would you want that? Why would you do that? Like I can't even comment on it because I can't. Maybe like, okay, I have to go way back in time. Like maybe like when you're like really young and like you do want like attention in general or something. Yeah, but like it's so ironic that these people that talk about women empowerment and females and being so this and being so that, but then like at the same time they're just like this almost this like desperation a little bit for the gaze of men. Men are how is that anything of value for a man to look at you as a piece of meat, for example? And I don't think that's necessarily what she's talking about here. I think she's talking about general like attraction, like is a man attracted? But why can't you can be attractive and beautiful wearing your hijab? I think they don't need to see your body. Like that's not, I don't think that's the level of attraction that a man should be looking at necessarily. Besides like maybe general habitus, okay, makes sense, before getting married, but I don't think they need to know and see your body before you get married. Like that's not a thing. Um, uh, as long as, especially if you're getting married relatively young, like, what do they need to see exactly? Um, Maybe when you're older, who knows? Who knows what's happened to your body at that point? But sorry. I'm literally cracking myself up over here. So yeah, like I don't know. Like to me, it's a little bit like, again, a little bit confused. When you're talking about, you're talking about female empowerment in like all the wrong ways, and like you're missing out on it in all the wrong ways. Like it's over here. Cover yourself up. That is female empowerment. Why would I want a man looking at my body so inappropriately? Like they have one. It's not about, and that's the thing. I think maybe women kind of get confused about. Men are not looking at you because like you're beautiful and you're pretty, because like they care about you. Like it means like they love you now. They're looking at you with their own desires and their own intent. It's about them. It has nothing to do with you. You are expendable. Great, you provided a beautiful body for them. That's it. That's all they care about. If you're talking about that level of attraction, versus as a woman, you dress up, you wear the hijab, you adorn the hijab, and I'm not even saying that I'm like a good example of it necessarily, but to the best of your abilities, you adorn the hijab. Let's fix mine now that we're talking about it. And generally, like, okay, there are parts of you that are exposed. There's a general sense of like what your level of attraction is. Okay. No, like I don't wear makeup. My husband would not even let me outside the house. Obviously no makeup, no perfume outside the home. And they get a general sense, like, isn't that more respectable? Isn't that more exactly what female empowerment is and what should be, versus for the sake of a man's desire? That's where I'm some disconnect here.
When I'm wearing hijab and I'm covering up, and I guess I would feel like I want that. Like I would want the attention again, being covered. And it feels really weird saying that.
You want the attention. Okay. So that's where it's, like selfishly, you want the attention. So it doesn't matter about the man. It doesn't matter about exactly who the man is, but like, ooh, look, men look at me. Like women, yes, women do want attention. They want to feel beautiful. They want to feel pretty. But like, wouldn't you rather just have that from like one man, like your husband that you marry, and like he loves you and he's attracted to you, versus like Joe Schmo and Bobo and whoever on the street that looks at you like that? Like, isn't that just like more like, just, it feels more pure, it feels more sensical? Like why does it matter what these random people on the street are saying? It's so impersonable, and like, and I'm not sure, like she's not being very clear about what she's talking about here. I'm not sure that that's exactly what she's talking about. It might not be, like she maybe is talking about like getting to know somebody on a marriage level. She wants attention from men. I'm not fully following.
Like go into this suppressing that need for instant gratification, because if I am desired by a man who only wants me for the way that I look, it's going to be empty at the end of the day. You are going to end up feeling like, where is the commitment from a man if he is only just wanting me because of the way that I look? Like, is he?
Listen, if your husband finds you attractive, in my opinion, he's going to be committed to you. If your husband thinks you're an attractive woman versus a non-attractive woman, who's he going to be more committed to, do you think? I don't. Okay.
Is he going in with the intention to pursue you long term?
Oh, I see. She's just talking about the marriage process, like getting to know somebody.
So whenever I look back at my past, and I would have,
I'm just so confused by some of the stuff she's saying.
Made me feel worse, even if I was just talking to a person. And so that's why I also am like, you know what? I'd rather go through this lonely chapter of not talking to anyone, because it's going to make me feel empty if the person is not going in with the intention to truly, truly marry me. I also have.
So essentially here she's saying like, I mean, she's acknowledging, like she's being real, right? She's being real. Like she's saying like, okay, like, yeah, like I want the attention from men. Okay. Which is, I think, a natural like woman, female thing, especially when you're younger. I think more so when you're younger and maybe unmarried, you kind of want that attention a little bit more. I think it's healthy. There's a very healthy way of getting that attention in a marriage, and it's beautiful because you want the attention and he wants someone beautiful. So someone beautiful to look at. So you beautify yourself. And that's definitely an Islamic thing that you do that for your husband. So that's a very healthy way of satisfying that natural innate desire that a woman has for attention. Uh, so she's mentioning that. And then she's mentioning kind of like in the marriage process, but like, what about men that are looking at you in the wrong way? Um, and their intentions are just to like have something either pretty to look at or just kind of be in a relationship with someone without being committed. So if you're beautiful and you're attractive, the man, it might not be getting to know you for who you are. That's where, I mean, I think this would just be like general like marriage advice. Like you need to be serious, number one, and you need to show that you're serious about getting married. Like this is about marriage, and you need to see and screen for the man being serious about getting married. So if it's someone and you're just talking and talking and talking and there's no plans for getting married, and like clearly he's not asking questions and he's just kind of doing kind of a relationship thing versus like, okay, we're like asking serious questions, we're really thinking about the future and we're really planning for the future. I can see that, that's kind of a way to screen somebody who's just looking at you for like wasting your time, essentially, like you're just a pretty face to talk to, versus someone who's actually committed to marrying you. Is it wrong for a man to, talk to you and feel committed to you because partly, at least because of your looks? No, there's sunnah precedent behind that. It's natural for a man, and you want obviously to be married to someone who is attracted to you. um Yeah. So I think what she's saying, again, a little bit all over the place here, but I think what she's saying is she's kind of like afraid that like she has like this inclination, like she wants to be desired, but she's afraid that like, a man will get to know her only because of her looks. I don't know. Again, there's nothing wrong with a man being attracted to his, even to his potential wife. You should, you're gonna marry, even if you're wearing niqab, like you have, I think the man has the right to see your face before you get married, before he proceeds with it. Attraction is definitely a part of it for a man. It's not a bad thing. Why are we making, I think maybe part of the issues we're kind of, again, from the feminist perspective, we're kind of used to putting down the man's side. Like there's nothing wrong with a man seeking beauty. If anything, it's in the sunnah. Like, to marry for beauty is part of it. It's not all of it. It's not necessarily the priority, but it's definitely an aspect of it. And a man has to be, should marry someone that he's attracted to and finds beautiful. That's just what makes a good marriage and a good life.
And I always look at life in that way. And when I'm having these thoughts of like, is hijab ever going to block me from blessings? Is it going to stop me from being successful ever? I always come back to like, let me fully trust God. I put this on because I love the true meaning of it. But sometimes when you're in a world where maybe you will get more opportunities if you look better, or like, a challenge for me, because if I didn't have curves and, a body, so upset about comments, but now I'm like, nah, if you got a comment and it's hate, cool. Is there something that I can take away from it? Maybe. 100. And I was like, okay, let me like calm down because I'm just going journey. There was like a man who came onto social.
I think she's talking about here, like the hijab being a journey. I don't disagree with that. Just like from my own experiences, like, yeah, I think it comes in stages. I thought about wearing the niqab. I have, and I still have hope that I can, upgrade in modesty. And before it gets too late, my reward is probably decreasing at this point. But I try to make sure, of course, my husband is okay with everything that I do wear. I think that's mostly kind of the things that I wanted to. She's talking about struggling with modesty and hijab journey, and some general things. So those are kind of the big things that I wanted to comment on. Again, I just want to say, like, this is not about hate. This is not about animosity or, necessarily even disagreeing. Like, I just have a different perspective on things. I'm sharing my perspective. Of course, there's going to be people that disagree with my perspective. That's fine. You want to make a reaction video to my reaction video, I'm okay with that. I don't think she would be averse to like having a conversation, a discussion about anything that I've mentioned necessarily. I do want this to be like, cordial and, learning process and a growing process, because that's what we're all doing. My journey is not over by any means. Allah alam. I mean, maybe it is today or tomorrow. That's with Allah ultimately. But for as far as I know, my journey is not necessarily over. And I have a lot of growth and learning to do myself, and I just have what so far my life has been, and the realizations that I've made, and I've been on both sides of the equation. They say the grass is always greener. I really lived on both sides for extended periods of times and had that time to kind of look at the grass on both sides. Ultimately, I made my choice. I made my decision. I'm home. Alhamdulillah. I'm a stay-at-home MD. It's weird. It's a little bit weird. And I definitely have my own kind of struggles and things that I'm working through this, my own journey. But I just wanted to kind of put this content out there for the women who maybe are a little bit on the fence and need to hear some of the other side. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If there's any other ideas or content ideas that you guys have, or things that you'd like me to comment on or tell more about, feel free to leave that in the comments.